Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. So today is August the 22nd and I thought I'd film a little reading update of what I've read in August and kind of what my TBR is for September. Okay, firstly, I'm gonna go off on many different tangents here, but I think for September, as much as I am like choosing a TBR, it's gonna be books I may have chosen on a lot of fast TBRs. So if you're here for that, I'm sorry, it might be a bit disappointing. Just a disclaimer to start with this video. But let's get into my August reads. Okay, so as I said, it is the 22nd, so I might end up reading a few more books in this, week that I have left. I probably end up reading a few more books. But as of today, let me just get my stats up. I have read 5 books in total. So what's cool about this month is that I've got a physical copy for every single book I've read so far. Bear with me, but this is going to be awesome. So first, I've read The Great Year by Kim Liggett. This is the dystopian book I read and I really enjoyed it and I rated it 5 stars. Yes, I have. I rated it 5 stars. Definitely recommend. I freaking loved it. It's about this dystopian society where the girls have this magic and at a certain age they are sent away into the woods, into this camp to get rid of their magic, and it's they sent away for like a whole year and then they can come back and live as like wives and workers and whatever else without their magic. So that is like the premise of this book. I don't want to say too much because I'm going to spoil it and I don't want to do that for you, but it just had so many elements of like different genres. Like obviously the main element is dystopian, I'm pretty sure, but it had like elements of fantasy, thriller, romance. It was just freaking amazing and I really enjoyed it. So I do definitely recommend go and read it. And also if you want to see my live thoughts, I do have a reading vlog, I think, where I've read this book. The second book I read in August is One Day by David Nichols. This is also in the same reading vlog as the last one, and so is the next book I'm going to show you. So this book is, I called it romance before, but it's more of a general fiction. It follows these two friends who meet on their last day of university or like graduation. So basically their whole life is about to change because it's an end of an era, and that's when they meet, and then it follows their friendship throughout their whole life, basically from like their early 20s to their early 40s, late 40s, something along those lines. And you only get to see them every year on the same day, like just one day. And I really love the books when it's like you only get to see them one day, because you've got all these unanswered things that you just never find out. And this is why I also hate it, but I also love it because it's just so mysterious and you kind of get to fill in the gaps yourself. So, for example, without spoiling too much, um, obviously the first day you get to see them, they just graduated from uni, and then the next time you get to see them, they're like working in like a job, and then a year later the girl is working a different job, and a year later, and it just, you don't know like what happened in the year in between other than like the little things they give away from as they move along that day. And you get to see like the ups and downs of the friendship, you get to see relationships blossoming and also crashing down, and it's just a beautiful story. There is a Netflix TV show which I do also recommend, but I do recommend reading the book first, which I have not done, but I would have loved the book even more if I read it first, because the TV show does take a lot from the book. And yeah, it wasn't really anything new in the book for me after I watched the TV show. But I do recommend both immensely. And I think I rated this 4 stars. Yes, I have. I rated it 4 stars. But as I've said, if I would have read the book first, I would have rated it 5 stars, because the show made me cry, and this didn't make me cry because I already knew what was happening. But yeah, definitely recommend. Okay, the third book I've read was Too Late by Colleen Hoover. So there was a movie that came out, not for this book, it was for It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I really enjoyed that movie. Just gonna say it now, I loved the movie. I know there's a bit of drama surrounding the actors and actresses and all that and Colleen Hoover, but I'm not gonna go into that. The movie itself was, I think, a perfect adaptation from the book, and I think they kept all the key bits that needed to be like kept from the book, and it was freaking amazing. So I do recommend, but beware of like trigger warnings. I know some people are advertising it as a romantic comedy, and that is not what it is. Um, and it does deal with like domestic violence and some heavy topics. So do beware before you read the book, before you watch the movie, that it is not necessarily a fun time. But I do recommend, because it does raise awareness and give it, I feel like it does give power to women. So I do like think it's a great movie, it's a great book. Go and read it, see it if you think that is for you. On that note, so this has been on my shelf for years, and since that movie was coming out, I was like, oh, why not read another Colleen Hoover book? So this is Too Late. And I don't know what the genre is. I thought originally it was like a thriller, but it says a psychological suspense about obsession and dangerous love. It is a romance book, but I would call it a dark romance. I don't know if it fits into the dark romance genre, as it's not like that dark, but I would call it a dark romance. And I I rated this 2 stars because I really didn't enjoy it. I talk more about this in my reading vlog if you want to know more. I do think Colleen Hoover is a good author, but not for me where I am right now. Okay, the fourth book I read this month is The Goal by Elle Kennedy. So this is the fourth book in the Of Campus series. This is the second to last book as well, so there's only 5 books. And I'm so glad I finally like got around to continuing this series, because I've been putting it off for ages. In terms of this book, I rated it 3 stars. I don't know if it's because the kind of reading mood I was in or because of the actual story. So don't quote me on that. It is a good book. I'm not saying it's not. I just didn't enjoy it as much as some of the others. So this is a hockey romance following Sabrina and Tucker. You know, it was a different read when you don't remember the names. So yeah, it follows them, and I loved them as characters, and I think I did enjoy them as a couple. And I did enjoy the story, but for some reason I got bored. I was like pushing myself to pick it up again, and that is not good. I want a book where I can't wait to pick it up again and like I want to carry on reading. But then again, when I was reading, I didn't want to stop unless I got bored, which was many times. So I'm sorry. It I'm not saying it's a bad read. It's just an interesting one. And also I think I, I know sports romances are like really popular, especially hockey romances, but I didn't think they're for me. I think once you read one, you kind of like have read all. I'm sorry, this is a very unpopular opinion maybe, but yeah, it just, in terms of like the off-campus series, I know each of the characters have like a different storyline and a different background and so on, but in terms of like the sports romance itself, it just feels the same. So I don't know if these books are for me, but I do love Elle Kennedy's writing. It is an easy read, it is a quick read, so I do recommend nevertheless. Final book that I've read so far in August is actually a non-fiction self-help book, and it is, I am holding it the wrong way, it is Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers by Tamko. So Tamko is actually a YouTuber who I have been following for the past year and a half, 2 years, I'm not sure. She does have some really good advice videos and self-help that I enjoy listening to. I enjoy taking advice from her. And now she came out with the book. And this is all about relationships and like not just relationships with others, but also the relationship with yourself and self-love, and how knowing how to love yourself kind of gets you ahead in relationships in the future and like raises your standards in terms of the people you end up being with. I rated this 4 stars because I did enjoy the structure of the book. So it split into 3 parts, I'm pretty sure. Part 1, understanding, everything you've ever questioned about self-love answered. Part 2, healing, everything is hard before it's easy. And part 3, reawakening, living with your new self-love mindset. So I did like the structure and the structure of the chapters as well. I just think it's with her videos as well, she like structures it so well. So she like explains the stuff, she breaks it down into like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then also there's like tables in it, and there's at the end of each chapter, there's like a chapter homework with like a tick list, and like there's chapter summaries, and I just freaking love when something is structured, and I do just enjoy self-help books when it's not just plain text for like ages and ages. It has like, it's split into paragraphs, it's split into smaller digestible bits, and then at the end you get a checklist of like what to take away from this. I think that's just amazing. So I do love that. I'm gonna be honest, I did listen to the audiobook and I did kind of get through it fast. So as much as I like retain some of that information, I do wanna reread this book and obviously go through the checklists themselves. So I am very happy that I have a physical copy. Yeah, and also this is a hardback, but it doesn't have like a sleeve, so this is just like the cover itself, and I don't know why, I just freaking love that. Usually I hate hardbacks, but this book, it's my favorite hardback ever. I think it's because it doesn't have a sleeve, but yeah, I just freaking love it. So that is all the 5 books I've read this month. in terms of the books I'm currently a bit way through, I am currently a bit way through Beach Read by Emily Henry. Where is my bookmark in this? Do I not even have a bookmark in this? I don't, but I know I read some of the first chapter. As I've said, I'm only a tiny bit way through this, but I do hope to finish this book in the upcoming week because it is like a summer read. I think. I mean, it says beach read, so I do really want to finish it in August. And the story itself, I love Emily Henry books, but the fact that it's two authors, so like the book is set in like a book world, and I just love when it's set in like a book world, whether they're like authors or library assistant, is that what you call them? I'm really sorry, I don't know. But when they like work with books, I just love that. So I can't wait to finish this book. And then I've got a book on my Kindle that I have been reading. I do not have the physical copy for this, but it's called Collide by Ball Cabra. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But this is the first book in the Off the Ice series. So this is also a hockey romance. But what I like about this one is that it's not it's not very focused on like the hockey element, or maybe it is, but there's not like a lot of mention of like actually playing hockey and like the games. There's like little mentions of it, but it's focusing more on like the people's relationship rather than the hockey aspect, which I think is great. As I've said before, I am a bit over the hockey romances, but I do enjoy this book. It was a pick in my Instagram book club group chat, so gotta do what you gotta do. I'm 46% of the way through, so nearly 50. Can't wait to finish this. And then lastly, I have been listening to an audiobook. I think it's called X Troop. I obviously will insert the picture here. And this is a non-fiction, or I don't know. I know it's like based on a real story, but I don't know if it's a non-fiction or it's like a retelling of like the X Troop. So I think it's non-fiction. But if it's not, I'm sorry. It's about X Troop, who were this like secret British troop during the Second World War. And turns out they weren't actually British at all. They were actually people who evacuated from like Nazi Germany, Poland, France, and they wanted to fight back, and they were like really clever people. They got very well trained, and then they like used the advantage of, you know, speaking German, speaking French, speaking Italian. They used that to help out the Brits in the war. So yeah, it's just a very interesting story, and it's taken a side that I didn't think I've heard that much about during all the teachings of like World War II, and like what I heard about it so far from like school and the media and so on. I just Obviously I've never heard of the X Troop before, so that was new. But also the fact that there was talk of the people who were, you know, coming away from Nazi Germany, like running away, so like Jews and just any people, they got put into camps in the UK and like prisons, which I guess is why we don't teach that. They don't teach that in school here, because obviously that's not a good thing. Obviously not as extreme as the Nazi Germany camps, but the fact that there were any like camps and separation at all is just blows my mind. Like, there was one person in the extra group who was arrested at like the university that he went to in the UK after they found out, like, oh, he's is it called evacuee? I want to say evacuee, but like, yeah, person who like ran away to safety basically. And yeah, he got arrested and he got like put into prison because he was what was it called, an alien kind or something along those lines. And yeah, to me that is like, wait, what? So that's what was happening here? Like, I thought this is where people were safe, but I guess not. People were not safe here either, because they had like terrible conditions here too, and they got like, obviously, yeah, sorry, that went down a tangent, but I do really enjoy this book so far. And we're getting closer to the end of World War II now, and how like their effort helped and all that stuff. So I can't wait to finish it. I think I've got 2 hours left of the audiobook, and as I said, been really enjoying all the knowledge. So do recommend. As for all the books I have not read yet off my August TBR, there is 6. So it is a pile. Okay, we've got Check and Made by Ali Hazelwood, 7 Summers by Paige Tune, Say You Swear by Megan Brandy, Freed by E.L. James, Off to the Races by Elsie Silver, and 1,000 Broken Pieces, yes, by Tilly Cole. So, these 6 books. Okay. Right. So usually, I choose 10 books for my TBR, and then whatever I don't read, I just kind of put back on my shelves and choose another 10 books in the next month. But this time around, I don't want to put all these back on my shelf, because these are books I really have been meaning to read. So for my September TBR, I am gonna keep 5 of the 6 books. So we've got all these books that I am gonna keep for my September TBR. Off to the Races, I'm not gonna keep, because this is the first book in a series that has like a bunch of books, and I don't want to go into another series right now. Also, I don't want to go into a series that I don't own the books of. So if I really like this one, I don't want to go out and buy the rest of the series, because at the moment I've got 103 books on my TBR that I haven't read yet. So 103 books that I own and I haven't read yet. So I don't want to buy new books right now. I want to reduce that number. So yeah, that is why I'm putting Off to the Races to a side. But these 5 books I do want to read. And then let me just go and find 5 more books, and then I'll let you know my full September TBR. Okay, are we ready for this? 5 more books. Right. So I've got Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the 2nd book in the Maple Hills series. The 1st book is Icebreaker, which I guess is like the more popular one, and the 3rd book, Daydream, came out recently. It's coming out soon, something along those lines. And I hated the Icebreaker. I'm sorry, I did, but I have a little bit of hope left for this 2nd book. So Icebreaker was a hockey romance, and this is following one of the hockey players, but it's set in like a summer camp, so it's not that much of a hockey romance, which is why I guess I have higher hopes for this one. And yeah, that's the only thing I really know of this one, and wish me luck. Then I have The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. So this is another sports romance, or I guess it's more of an epilogue for all the past 4 sports romance books. So this is book 5 in the off-campus series, and it follows all the couples from the first 4 books, if I understood that right. It says 4 stories, 4 couples, 3 years of real life after graduation. And I just think that is a really cool thing to write. A kind of epilogue novel for all the couples is just really cool. And as I've said, I didn't love some of the couples as much as the others, but I did really love certain couples, and I did love their friendships, and this is all that in one. So I can't wait to read this. And it is also a small book, and I assume it's a quick read because all Elle Kennedy's books have been quick reads. So, and then I've got 2 books that have been kindly gifted by a subscriber, Dan, who still comments of every one of my videos. Thank you so much. So I've got Wenchful by Wee Schwab. This is a big book. How many pages is this? 575. Nearly 600 pages. Wait, what? Sorry, I got distracted because the start of the blurb says Magneto and Professor X. They are from the X-Men movies. I know because I've just watched all of them. What has that got to do with this book? I know there's like technically not superheroes. I think they're called extraordinaries. So these people who had died and like got revived, and then that's how they like got superpowers. Yeah, that is the concept for the first book. This is the second book. So the first book was called Vicious. This is Vengeful. And yeah, that blurb now really intrigues me. So now I want to read it even more. But I guess I'm in my like superpower era, so can't wait to read this. And then I've got The Liar's Gospel by Naomi Alderman. This is a very small book, so I do think I can get through it fast. Then again, the font is tiny. That is a bit sad. But this is, I was gonna say it's the second book. I don't think this is part of a series, but the first book I read from this author is called The Power, and it had like a dystopian / like religious kind of vibe to it, and this has also got that dystopian religious element to it. And I'm just really curious to see what goes down and like what happens in this world, because The Power was really interesting, and the way it was so well thought out and the way she like set it all up, I just thought was really interesting. So I do have high hopes for this one, and I do hope to read it quickly since it's a very small book. Lastly, for September, I hope to read Such Charming Liars by Karen M. McManus. And look at this beautiful book. Isn't it beautiful? And it's shiny. The only thing I don't like about this book is that it's hardcover and it has a sleeve. But yeah, other than that, I can't wait to read this book. So Karen M. McManus, I've read all her books so far, and this is a new release. And I'm really intrigued. So she writes YA mystery thrillers, YA mysteries. I think it's more mysteries than thrillers. But yeah, it's YA, yet it's still just so intriguing and interesting. So okay, so this one. For all of Kat's life, it's just been her and her mum, except for when her mum was married for just 48 hours to a man with a child of his own, a son named Liam. The two families haven't spoken for the past 12 years. Now Kat's mum is a jewel thief, trying to go straight, and she has one last job, swiping a costly necklace at a billionaire's 80th birthday party weekend. And this time, Kat finds a way to make her mother bring her along. But there are other surprise guests, Liam and his father, now a serial scammer who has his own sights set on a billion who has his own sights set on the billionaire's family. To get what they want, they'll all have to pretend not to know one another. When someone at the compound is shot dead, Kat and Liam realize they might be in the killer's crosshairs next. In this deadly game of lies, the only way to survive is to find out the truth first. Yeah, doesn't that sound interesting? Okay, it does say the shocking new thriller. So this is a thriller. I guess I got that wrong. Mystery thriller? Can we just put that in like one category? Because I can't differentiate between a mystery and a thriller. Or can someone tell me down in the comments, like, how do we differentiate? Because I call them mystery thrillers whenever I read any thrillers or mysteries. This is all the books I hope to read in the month of September. And that concludes this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Give it a like if you did, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see more of, and see you next time.